All right, welcome to another episode of the Coaches Show. After Week 5, the Greenbacks now find themselves 4-1 after travel to Wichita Collegiate last Friday night. First loss of the season, fall 42-12 to the Spartans. Coach, these aren't near as fun after a loss, but always it's got to do them, and always enjoy sitting down with you. Give us your thoughts on that ball game before we dive into it.
You know, I know it sounds crazy if 42-12 game. Obviously, we didn't do what we needed to do, and that's a lot on me. You know, I didn't have us ready to go quite the right way. I thought, though, there was 3 or 4. If you look at the stats overall, rushing, they threw a lot. They didn't run much, but the stats were somewhat there evenly. It was just they made plays when they needed to make plays. The plays that we had on the table, we didn't make. And I thought there were, a game like that, you take 4 or 5 plays and change them up, and it would have been a little different game. And the ball got snowballed a little bit, got rolling downhill on us. But I was proud of our kids' fight. I thought we kept playing. Well, we were inside the 22 or 3 times second half, didn't score. Would have made it a lot better. But it's one of those games you learn from and you move on.
Yeah, and that's what you hope. It was a physical game, both sides of the ball, collegiate.
Yeah.
Physical, not only athletic team, but physical as well. The game started off no scores early on. Late into the first quarter, Greenbacks get on the board first to strike first and go up on top. And that's kind of what we were saying, or at least me and people I was talking to all week was, boy, if we can get on top first, I like our chances. That happened. What's the mindset after putting that first touchdown on the board?
I thought we were in a good spot. Now we were driving it, and again, it's one of those you look back, and I told the kids, I said, guys, it's on me, it's not on you. Thought we scored first there, and then we gave up the jump ball. They had the 6'5" kid and went up.
Yeah.
Owen was in good position and went up over him, and had a couple tough calls go our way, pass interference stuff that they didn't call on them. They scored, and then we had that second drive, and we had the second and short near midfield, and I thought we'd take we designed a few plays that week that take advantage of what we thought they would give us, and we got that. We just, unfortunately, looking back, weren't able to take them in. We took a big sack there and got knocked out of a drive, and that's one that, looking back, was it open a little bit? Sure, but we didn't execute it, and so maybe I should have just kept running the ball because we were running at them with a pretty decent clip and pounding it, and then they scored, and then we did the same thing again on me the next drive where we did a tendency buster and at 2nd and 1, and we fumbled it, and they covered and went down and scored, and then the game was a lot different from there. But really, when we kept it on the ground, we moved the ball. We just didn't get our pass game going real well. So again, that's on me. I got to call better plays, and it's just one of those games that it was the margin for error was so small.
Yeah.
They played really, really hard, much, much harder than they probably had on film and better. And I think they would tell you that. Our coach did tell me that after the game that our margin for error was small, and we just didn't quite make the plays when we need.
On that margin of error, talking a little bit, does that impact your decision at all, knowing that margin is so small? We saw early on punting on 4th and short yardage inside our own territory, and Kelly and I both in the booth thought punt was the right decision. That's a type of ball game that you have to play it the way football's supposed to be played. Like you see a game on TV, every team's punting in that situation. But a lot of times in high school ball, you'll see a team try to get that 4th and 2, 4th and 3. Greenbacks elected to punt it, which I said, I agreed with the call, but in a game with those margins so small, does that impact that decision?
It does. I thought, too, at that time, going into the game, we'd had 2 touchdowns scored on our defense in the first 4 games. So, obviously we didn't play defense real well, but at that time I had a lot of confidence, and I still do. We got to fix some things, but confidence, and man, we're stopping the first drive. They tried to run, we stopped, and they did a good job of adjusting. Going into the game, they were 70% run, 30% pass, and they threw a bunch on us. They still didn't run at much more than 3 yards a clip. We did a really good job in the running game, but they were able to throw on us, and that was the thought process there. Even though me, it kills me to punt on 4th and 2.
Yeah.
I always have faith in our offense, but they were really big everywhere, really athletic, and those 4th and 2s, you don't want to put your defense in a really bad situation. I thought about it long and hard. And then decided to punt. Actually, we talked about fake punting there, but they didn't give us the look we wanted. when we came out. So we punted, and looking back, maybe you should go for it when they score. But that's always
I don't know. Like I said, we were of the same mindset. Field position in that type of game, that
was
early
my
on
thought,
was so crucial. And you just if you don't get it and put yourself then, your sails get deflated a little bit. Collegiate sets up with good field position inside your territory of the 50. So like I said, I agreed with the punt decision. All of us in the booth did. It was just, like I said, one of those things. That decision's tougher in a game like that. There's a lot more thought that goes into it versus some of the games we've had early on in the season.
Absolutely. Normally, yeah, I mean, I'm notoriously pretty aggressive. I just thought Arlie punted a really good punt the first time. If we could pin him inside the 20, we did that the first drive when we punted, and then we were able to get great field position, went down and scored. And the thought process was we're about midfield, 44 or something like that. We can go pin him deep again, get a 3 and out, and then we'd have great field position. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out like that.
And we look at some of the stats on the game. The offensive total yards for the ball game, 236, and that was one of the storylines. Really, the Greenbacks came into that ball game averaging 334 total yards on the night. The Spartans able to hold us to 236. Same thing on the ground, 164 total yards. Came into the ball game averaging 261. Most of those, again, Tay Wilson, senior, having a good night on the ground, able to get himself over 100 yards, 119 total for the night. Had the 2 only touchdowns on 15 carries. And then something that we haven't seen a lot this season or at all this season was Morrell in the backfield. He had 6 carries for 33 yards on the ground, and it seemed to be effective at times.
Yeah, Arlie, and then you have the couple, it's basically around the jet sweep that was, it's a pop pass. Those are the easy passing yards, but they went for 32 or something on the
which one?
Third and a mile.
Yeah.
Third 35 or whatever.
So, yeah.
And even then, if Arlie doesn't trip up, he was a little tired. I think he scores there normally. Something we've been looking at, we got to take a little stress off Tay. He can't have 25, 30 carries every game, and Arlie's a big. We have some guys that are can run. Kyler's done a good job. Caleb, but I thought this game with the physicality wise, Arlie just brings a little more weight there. When they're talking, those guys are about 150 pounds, 160. You got Arlie at 205, 210, and then Tay. So thought we'd get a little more physicality, and obviously Arlie brings a lot of speed. And to be quite honest, we just got to keep finding more ways to get the ball in his hands because he's pretty dynamic when we do it.
Yeah, and that was one of the things we talked about too. Was you got to find a way to a little bit take the focus off of Wilson in some of these big games like that. Teams come into it knowing that he's the feature back, going to get a lot of the touches. So seeing Morrell get some of those touches looked like that was one of the ways that the offense was trying to do that on Friday night. A few other stats on the receiving end: the Greenbacks threw for only 5 of 13 between Wilson and Poor combined for 72 yards. They did throw 2 interceptions between the two of them. Morrell, 2 of those catches for 42 yards. Schmidt with 2 catches, 15 yards. And then Tay Wilson, 1 catch for 15 yards. And boy, we talked about it before we got started here, some opportunities that were open to connect in the air, just not able to do it. And in a game like that, those big plays that you miss out on, they end up being the difference.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, and again, that's on me. I'm ultimately the one that's got to drill that. We'd drawn up, I told you, to 3 plays, 4 plays that we thought were tendency busters, and unfortunately we had them. We had them open early in the game. Those were the shots we talked of, and unfortunately we just didn't go our way. We didn't read it right, didn't see it right. Did have a couple protection breakdowns that we weren't maybe able to sit back and see it because we were a little more rushed than we wanted to be, a little hurried. And again, when you're playing one of the best teams in the state, and that's what they are, your margin for errors are so small, and then with our offense, and then when you start chasing, it's hard.
Yeah, it gets you out of that playbook.
It gets us out of that rhythm, and I didn't do a very good job with that. So it just kind of snowballed on us. We'll get better. We talked about it after the game. Learn from it, flush it, and move on because there's a lot of season left.
Yeah, what are the lessons learned after a big game like that had district implications? The Greenbacks unbeaten up until that point. What's the message in the locker room after a ball game like that to not let that loss linger, but also learn something from it?
I think the message is, we've got to prepare every day. And we talked about, and the kids can tell you probably that I've been on them quite a bit the last few weeks. I didn't think our mental focus was where it needed to be. So you never want to learn those hard lessons, but I mean, to a man, the kids, they took it. They're like, no, we got to be better in practice. We got to be more focused. Just a lot of little missed blocking assignments. And then the big thing I told our kids is, they're really athletic, and I thought we were very reactionary to their athleticism, and we I'm not going to say we played scared of it, but we were waiting for them to move and trying to figure out what they were going to do. Whereas we've got some kids that are really good football players that we've got to move forward, especially on our offense. Even if you miss a block, if we miss it flying out of our stance and flying forward, some good things are going to happen. You know, I know I pointed out one play. It was one of my favorite plays on tape when the first touchdown drive. We ran an ISO in the middle, and Jack got off the ball really well. He completely whiffed, and it sounds crazy. It was a great play, but he got off the ball so hard he whiffed on 11 because he ducked his head down a little bit. But the Parker kid went all the way around him, wasn't able to make the tackle, and we go in. You know, and we score, and that's what I told the kids. Did he execute perfectly? No, but he got off the ball with some stinking intent. And when you get off the ball with intent with the guys that we have, we're going to open up holes. And if we get off the ball like that and get forward, if they can get to the line of scrimmage with some momentum, we're going to gain 3, 4, 5 yards every time. And that's what we want to do to be able to move the sticks. So I think you learn from it. We learn practice habits, alignment, how much more we need to make sure we're in the game, seeing what they're doing, and then. And offensively, I thought the big thing was we kind of got out of following our rules. You know, we talk all the time about we never know what we're going to see defensively, and they did some different things. So just follow your rules and not, oh man, should I get that guy? That guy's lined up here. Just follow your rules. You know, and so I think we went back to that. Kids have done a good job responding so far this week.
All right, let's get to some awards for the week. In a booth, it was a little unorthodox this week in the booth, and we'll get to that. State Farm Player of the Game, though, Tay Wilson, 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards on the ground for Tay. His 4th out of 5 ball games he went over 100 yards. So Tay Wilson, our State Farm Player of the Game. MVP of the game for you.
Well, this is where we're going to differ there because our kids even agreed. I'm like, man, when we get beat like this, we don't have too many awards to give.
Okay, that's where we got unorthodox as well. We just haven't gotten to it.
We did give Tay the offensive player of the game because, I mean, he had about 120 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, ran the ball really well.
Yeah.
You know, we established him, so I thought he did some good things. So we went ahead and gave that, but I think to a man, we all agreed, and the kids too, that there was no defensive player or MVP of a game when you lose like that.
Now, I will say, and I don't think we touched on it here in our rundown, but we did a little bit before we got going, the interior defense that Friday night, good. You know, Collegiate didn't get many yards up the middle, you know, between end to end of their offense. The interior, all their yards seemed to come on the outside when they got those athletes matched up one-on-one in space. So I thought the interior of our defense really held up well, and on the outsides it was just a mismatch in some spots.
Yeah, and again, our kids, you know, it's one of those things when you see that much speed, and they had a ton of speed and length that you know, human nature says I can't go up on that guy because he's going to burn me. Whereas we were giving them way too easy of passing lanes because there were several times, if you stop the film, that you know, Arlie in particular was getting a ton of pressure, that he was one step away. If we could have just guarded a little stronger, and when you're guarding speed, you want to choke the air out of it. Don't let them get going, because once they get going, it doesn't matter if you're back and in position, you're probably not going to get them. And I thought that was our biggest mistake is we gave them way too much space instead of choking off their air. Interior line, like you said, and you know, I think they had 95 yards on 26 carries total, and 40 some of that came on one play when we had 3 guys there, and actually we had 2 guys perfectly fitted. Safety came flying up and knocked them off. Wasn't intentional, just was coming up to make a hit, knocked them off, and they went 40 some yards. So other than that, you know,
it really kept them in check on the ground.
Yeah, just gotta choke off their air a little bit more in the passing game.
All right, now to the Meade Lumber hit stick of the game. This is where we followed
Augie
suit.
Deeds was the scout team player of the week, though. He continues to do a fantastic job.
Okay,
and had a great game Monday night.
He did.
You know,
game-winning sack.
Yeah.
So for those who didn't tune in or get down to the junior varsity game Monday night where they matched up with Collegiate, it was a heck of a ball game. One of the better games I've seen varsity or junior varsity all season long. So the Greenbacks came away with that one in dramatic fashion.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was a good one. Well, should have came to that one then for the Meade Lumber hit stick of the game, because we took your cue of not giving that one out Friday night. We just didn't see one that stood out. And I said afterwards, I said, you know, Brent's done this before, so I feel like there's precedent that has been set and not given out an award. So for the Meade Lumber hit stick of the night, we're just saying there's got to be 2 now for Phillipsburg. You know, there's 2 on the line
like
for
that.
Phillipsburg. So it's going to be a double up award for the hit stick. Our Farm Bureau fan of the game, shout out again. I want to give a thanks to Mitch Fiegel, the athletic director over there at Wichita Collegiate. He let us live stream the ball game, so everybody was able to tune in. Didn't have to pay the NFHS fee to watch the game. We were able to provide our own live stream, and we would not have been able to do that without Cole McAllister running the camera for us all night long.
Cole.
So Cole McAllister was our Farm Bureau fan of the game, as he was the one-man camera crew for us.
You're saying he's already more valuable than Logan up there.
I did not say that. Oh, this one's going to get clipped again right there and sent to Logan. All right, on to Phillipsburg, a team we don't know much about as far as the history is Pratt High. I don't think Pratt has ever played Phillipsburg in the history of the annals of Greenback football. Phillipsburg does not exist in the search bar when you look through the record books.
No, I didn't find it anywhere, and you know, Steve Landry does. You know, we've got every score pretty much from 1908 to present, and I went back and looked through and can't find any meetings with Phillipsburg ever.
So not very often the Greenbacks face an opponent that they've never faced before. Phillipsburg 3-2 coming into this ball game under head coach Ross Coombs. His second year, they went 4-5 last season. Opened up with a couple wins over Plainville and Smith Center, and then lost a couple to TMP and Beloit, and then picked up a win in week 5 against Russell. And so the Greenbacks now a long trip up there to Phillipsburg. How do you prepare coming off of that loss with the longest bus ride in recent memory for the Greenbacks, and get up there and get motivated to play a game 3.5 hours up north?
Well, I think it's one of those. I told the kids, I've had a bad taste in my mouth all week.
Yeah.
I had it all last weekend, didn't sleep. Losing. If you're a competitor, it eats at you, and you just want to get back out there and make things right again. And I think that's the big thing for us is getting out there and making things right and playing like, we talked about no hit stick. We pride ourselves on physicality, and the kids even, I'm like, guys, can you think of one hit we had? No, like, we just didn't play Greenback football. Even if we're still hitting somebody on offense, defense, we still need to be smacking people around, and we didn't quite play with the right force. And that's been the key operative term this week is playing with force. Getting your rears downhill on offense, and on defense going and finishing stuff and hitting people. And, it's that feeding frenzy we talk about when people start hitting. So that's been a big key. I think you want to do that. We'll try to stop somewhere halfway, stretch our legs, get something to eat, do all those things. It's always tough when you play a new opponent, especially for us. We have zero idea how they'll line up against our offense because, we see something new. So it's been a good week of just follow our rules. And we've thrown a lot of stuff at the kids and just said, okay, what are your rules here? What are your rules? What do we do? And then, so I think you go back to basics a little bit, and it's a non-district game, just a fun one. You get to go play someone you never played before.
Yeah.
So go have fun with it. And in the grand scheme of things, it's a game that it's our game to get healthy, maybe do the right things and work on us. Because in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to count towards much. So let's work on us. Let's play as best we can. And then that's a long bus ride. So let's make it a fun bus ride home.
Yeah, always want to come home with a win after a long bus ride like that. We'll be there Friday evening. Tune in for the call, 98.3 on Thunder Country. Live stream, might be doing it from there also. So check on Eastus Media Facebook page to see if we will be live streaming that game. But, Coach, we look forward to the call, and good luck Friday night.
Thank you.
All right.